Hello there guys and welcome back. This is a video that I've been waiting to do for a long time, and I actually kind of preempted it with my video, Are $1,000 Boots Worth It? That video got a lot of dramatic responses, all the way from what are you crazy to absolutely if they're built well. So these boots today that I'm going to bring you are polarizing in every single way. Some people can't stand their styling, some people love it, some people couldn't imagine paying this amount for a pair of boots, others totally understand. So I'm going to do my best to explain why they're worth the price and what you're getting when you buy a pair of these, because it is something special. There's a big difference between buying these boots and buying anything off the rack at a department store. Doesn't matter what brand it is. These are the MYG nail shank boots. They're limited to 25 pairs, and the construction consists of 5-ounce Horween Latigo rough-out leather, which is then finished with black walnut, beeswax, and vitamin E oil. They have full-grain, flat-cut, 7-ounce leather laces and antique brass eyelets. They have a 1/4-inch vegetable-tanned midsole, and an actual railroad nail was hammered flat to be used as the shank. They feature a 1-inch leather-stacked heel and a structured toe, all in a silhouette that's reminiscent of beautiful 1940s boots. Even though this is a specific model of boot, it's made to your foot, entirely custom made based on measurements that you send in and some feedback going back and forth with the maker. After your measurements are confirmed, the building process begins, and it takes over 50 hours to complete one pair of boots. Much different than the factory-produced boots that are out there. But really, I mean, if you're like me, you want to know where that time and money is going. After all, it has to be a good value for me to buy it, so why would I go ahead and spend the money on something like this when I could buy a pair of Red Wings? What is the real benefit? Okay, it takes over 50 hours to make it. Is it that much better? Well, that's what we're going to go into here. So very simply, I'm going to go through the process. And again, there's a lot of things that I'm probably going to miss here, the nuances. But in the interest of time, I'm going to try to keep it brief to give you a brief overall view of what goes into building a pair of nail shank boots. Following the instructional video on the website, you trace out your foot and you take measurements in different places. All of this is just to give him an idea of what your foot looks like. So he can basically build a 3D model based on these measurements and the conversation that you have with him. Then he takes those measurements and he applies it to a one-of-a-kind 1943 wooden last. The last is then modified by adding pieces of leather, sanding it down, and smoothing it until it matches your feet perfectly. Using traditional European shoemaker techniques, a channel is hand cut on the bottom of the insole. This differs from most boots, which use a process called gemming, where a canvas material is used to create a rib for the welt to attach to the insole. This is the way that most Goodyear welted boots are made. However, these are hand channeled and hand welted. A hand cut channel and a hand welt takes 4 to 5 hours versus several minutes for the Goodyear welting process. The end result is more structurally sound and far less likely to pull apart over time. This is a high-end dress shoe technique. These boots feature something called the XXX back curve in the heel counter. It's another structural element consisting of a reverse saddle seam covered by 9 layers of leather. This is meant to lock your heel in place and makes a much more supportive boot. The structured toe is added, the leather is stretched over the last, and finally it's hand welted in place. After that, the leather outsole is added along with the 1-inch leather stacked heel, and if you choose, a rubber outsole. If needed, some custom cut insoles further refine the fit, and then they're shipped out to you. I've been wearing these boots for a couple of months now, and I really wanted to wear them and compare them to other boots so I can give you a good idea of the difference between custom cut boots to some off-the-rack ones. I really wanted to see if it was almost like a custom suit versus an off-the-rack suit in a way. And what I can tell you is that when I got them, I put them on. There was no break-in period, which there really shouldn't be. I mean, they're made to your foot. I put them on and I was able to wear them for the rest of the day. I wore them in the house just in case there was any issues and I need to send them back, but I had no problems. As a matter of fact, I put them on and I think I recorded a couple of videos which require me standing here for quite a while talking to the camera. So I had no issues. They felt very supportive. And here's what's interesting. So they're made out of nice leather, rough out leather, but that leather is pretty soft and supple. But it is structured in the back heel, the counter, and in the toe, and also on the outsole. So it's a combination of stiff and form-fitting and loose. It's a really interesting feel. So the best way I can describe it is it feels very supportive. I mean, that back counter piece there it's like a rib. It almost feels like there's a hard piece of plastic or metal or wood or something in there, but it's just stacked leather. And that really does lock your heel in place. The toe is also structured. I mean, there's nothing in there like steel or a celastic toe. It's just layers of leather, which are basically put on top of each other. And then with adhesive, they create that structured toe. Let's talk a little bit about that styling, which has an unapologetic retro vibe to it. I mean, it's built on a 1940s last, but that's what really attracted me to this boot to begin with. I saw it on Instagram, Boot Hunter put it up, and I thought to myself, wow, that is something that I haven't seen before. The contoured waist, the toe, a lot of the elements to it, the fact that it was rough out leather, but it looked like it was already worn in because it's brown leather, which is then treated to look black. So over time, that treatment will wear off and they'll just look great, especially if you like patina like I do. They looked intimidating. They looked rough. They looked like they might beat up my other boots if I left them in the closet with them. So I like that about it. They looked like they had a character, like they were a personality. Some people love them, some people hate them. Some people look at that structured toe and the contoured waist and they go, oh, that looks like clown shoes. I've heard that one before. Let's talk a little bit about the waist. That's basically the cut-in that goes in where your arch is. This is a sign of a bespoke piece of footwear. And as a matter of fact, back in the day when a man crossed his legs, you could usually tell if that man was wealthy or not because he had bespoke shoes with a contoured waist that were meant to fit his feet perfectly. This is something that you can't get off the rack because if they did give you a contoured waist, then really it wouldn't fit a lot of people. It would fit a few people really well, but not everyone. And that's the whole point of mass-produced footwear. It's supposed to fit most people pretty well. And like any bespoke garment, these fit me perfectly. If you were to try them on, most likely they wouldn't fit because they're not built to your foot. One of the ways that I tell my favorite boots is I look at the ones that I grab when I know I have a lot of walking to do. Now, I'm not talking about exercise walking. That's totally different. But I'm talking about like if I'm going to take my kids to the park. And I like to look at the ones that I just gravitate towards because I know they're going to be comfortable, supportive, and get the job done. These I would not hesitate to grab if I was going to walk around all day. I know that I could put these on and walk all day, be comfortable. I'll have enough arch support because we can all fall in love with a boot. I mean, they look great and we want to have them. You put them on, they fit all right, but you just like the way they look. But when it comes to functionality, But don't mistake these for some lightweight, dainty dress boot because they absolutely are not. You could wear these to do almost anything. Now, they don't have a slip-resistant sole or steel toe, so you couldn't really wear them to the job site. But around your house, doing the stuff that you normally do, absolutely. And that's really all that I require from a boot is that I could put it on, not have to worry about it until the end of the day, and then, go about my business without having to consider what I'm doing. The thing that I love about these boots the most, though, is that it's a one-man shop. And this guy is mostly self-taught, buying equipment and machinery that he then repairs and restores himself to make these boots, specifically for you. And you talk to him every step of the way, and he keeps in contact so you make sure that you have exactly what you want. As a matter of fact, he said, hey, I think there might have been an issue with the compound that I used to put the rubber heel cap on the outside of your boots. Please send them back to me. I'm going to replace that and send them over to you again. I mean, this guy will stand behind it. So it's one guy. You're talking to one guy. Good luck talking to anybody over at Red Wing. But let's talk about the price and the value because that's the big thing that everybody wants to know about. After all, I put, are $1,000 boots worth it, right? Now, these aren't exactly $1,000. They're about $900. $900. And it's about 40 to 50 hours. But let's take on the high end, 50 hours to make these boots. If you divide that out, that's about $18 an hour, not counting any material that goes into it, the shipping, any of the other things that you have to consider when you run a business, marketing, which really doesn't do much of. He's not making a lot of money doing this. I mean, if somebody were to tell me you're going to make 18 bucks an hour or even 15 bucks an hour to make a pair of shoes, I don't think I would be able to do it. So when you kind of break it down into those terms, it makes a lot of sense. Plus, they're made in a way that you really only see high-end dress shoes made with a hand-cut channel. I can't think of many other boot makers that will be able to do this, especially on American soil. But of course, I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below what you think of MYG Handmade having bespoke footwear at all. Is it worth it to you? Is it something that you want to do someday? Is it something that you would never do? Let me know in the comments. If you're interested in the company, of course, in my description, I will have all of their stuff so you can go and check out the other models that they have, or if you want a pair of these, you can get in touch with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.